Welcome to the Phantom Zone.
I try to join the X-Men, but I think they're maybe racist. Just because I'm human, they don't want my help. It seems it doesn't really matter if your superpowers firing through the belt. I tried to join the Justice League, but Batman was a douche to me. And Black Canary wouldn't tell me hi. And Plastic Man just threw a middle finger that was 30 stories high. I got a message from the great Avengers.
Hello, welcome to And Now Comics. I'm Luke Gonzalez. Joining me is John and Ryan, and Connor will be jumping in soon. And we were just talking about...
What is this, some kind of Birds of Prey?
Oh, no, well, it's no longer Harley Quinn and the Fantabulistic...
They changed it.
They changed. Is this the second movie this year that has had to have like a changing in something? So Cats had like a 2.0, and now they changed the name.
Oh, I thought you were. Well, I mean, I feel like it's kind of, you know, it like if people remember a couple of years ago when you had Edge of Tomorrow.
Yeah, so I was saying it's the only other movie I've heard do that.
And they changed it because it's like, hey, Live Die Repeat is a better title, and B, Live Die Repeat was on all the posters, so that's the only way that people like knew that movie. So, yeah, you know, Harley Quinn and the Birds of Prey, I think, is probably what the movie should have been called in the first place. Even though, like, you know, the surname of the movie I've always thought was like kind of cute.
Yeah, it's like I get what they were going for. I just don't see why after it's already out, why bother? Like, it's not like you're confused. Like, you're not changing the first two words.
I think it might help just like a little bit. Like, I also think that movie might not do as like I think that movie will do like pretty fine on its second week, which I think is like kind of like the real test. It's like how much of a drop is it? Because I think
I completely agree. I think it could actually do as good as it did because people like no one went, and then I think people will actually go now that there is
the buzz.
Like, there's buzz and like good reviews on it.
My theory was like everyone didn't go opening weekend because that's like Valentine's Day's the next weekend, so why would you go to the movies twice? So like everyone's probably just gonna go on like Valentine's Day.
Well, because everyone's gonna go see the ultimate date movie, Sonic the Hedgehog.
Oh, that's this week?
Oh yeah, I've got my ticket for Friday.
I'm actually very excited for Sonic the Hedgehog.
Oh,
we'll probably talk about it next week.
I'm so excited.
I'll have to get ready for that.
I do have the numbers, so they spent $84.5 million. That's obviously not counting their whatever, and it's made $85 million worldwide.
Like, I think that's very
solid.
Like, that's good. Like
I
think
it'll be in the green, but like its opening weekend was very bad.
But I mean, like, you're also like budgeting a film. It's like if this movie had the same opening that had like the budget of a Suicide Squad, which was like 150 million. Like, yeah, that's a disaster, you know.
Well, they could have worked with the marketing better for Harley Quinn.
Like, look at Cats.
Sure. Like, yeah, Cats is a pretty much a big disaster on like a lot of fronts. I think like some people like tend to like it's like, hey, like a really negative headline tends to like you know, float better than a positive headline. And I think like the opening for Harley Quinn is like could have been way better. But I think breaking even overall, like worldwide, is like not bad for a first weekend.
I'm looking at the like what came out. I didn't even know Doolittle came out yet.
Yeah, it did real bad.
Yo, dog, if you want to talk about a massive disaster, we could still talk about Doolittle, because Doolittle has a budget of like $180 million.
Yeah. Oh my God, this came out like a month ago.
Oh yeah.
Oh, wow.
I actually thought it wasn't coming out till like the spring.
Oh, that's
no. Oh no.
It did real bad.
Yeah. And that's why, like, I also just like can't take like the talk of like what a big, massive financial bomb Birds of Prey is when it's like, look, we still have Doolittle in theaters.
And I am looking at it. Doolittle's almost made back its money, and that's all overseas. It's made almost $100 million overseas.
Yeah, Doolittle's budget was $175 million, and like 4 weeks later, or three weeks later, it finally made back its budget.
Yeah.
Like,
I think it's like. Harley Quinn's not a bomb. It's just
slow start.
It just didn't do well. Like it didn't do Deadpool. It didn't do Black Panther. Like it didn't do comic book movie at this time in February number of the last couple of years.
But I don't think like that's even fair to even compare the two. Like,
I think it's fair to compare it to Deadpool.
I think you know what you're right. I think that is like fair to like also to compare Deadpool to this. Like I don't think it's fair to compare Black Panther.
No,
to
no,
this
no.
because
That's a different thing. Yes,
because it's like a PG-13 movie compared to a rated R film, and it's like you're already going to cut like half your budget.
You have 2 rated R like comic book comedies that are very violent with fan favorite, almost to the annoying level characters starring who are being spun off of quote unquote horrible movies before them.
Mm-hmm.
And
but you know, it's like I think like there's really kind of like no big competition for Birds of Prey for the next couple of weeks. Like you know, it's like if you want to say Sonic,
I think I would no, but Sonic is like the opposite audience. It's a kids family movie. So
like the next big kind of film to come out is going to be Onward, and that's like the first week of March. It's like you got like 2 weeks.
I don't even know what's Onward. Oh, that's that movie with the
Pixar.
magic, the CGI. Yeah, and that's still a kids movie.
But I mean, like, you know, Pixar films tend to be like, you know, a bigger thing. I mean, if you want to talk about like there's like The Hunt in March 13th, which I forgot that's coming out. I thought that got put on the shelf.
There's like the Fantasy Island horror movie.
Bloodshot's
Oh yeah,
13th.
Fantasy Island actually looked pretty good.
Favorite comic book hero, Bloodshot.
Oh man, I saw the toy in the stores and I was like, oh boy.
Do they have blood squirt?
No, but no,
that would take it from a 6 to a 20.
It's the Vin Diesel like figure, and I'm just like,
yeah.
they're doing some CGI magic to make him look like he's still action star worthy outside of a car.
Don't fat shame Vin Diesel. he needs his safe space.
I'm kind of surprised they're doing action figures for Bloodshot.
It was like a GameStop.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
But there was they make a ton of figures for everything though. I can't remember. It was in the same kind of line as like the Marvel Select, I think is what they're called, and like the DC Multiverse, like is like that level, like a $20-ish cost figure.
Oh, McFarlane's doing these.
Yeah, well, really, because he has a deal with DC that he's been doing. I think DC stuff now.
Oh, McFarlane Toys does a bunch of shit. Like, I mean, they do all those like sports figures and.
Oh, the sports figures they used to do were legit as hell. I have a couple of the horror ones, and they did a historical line. Like I have Genghis Khan behind me somewhere.
Bloodshot action figure.
Or Till the Hun. I don't remember which one.
Diesel looks so like
because they're CGIing the shit out of him to make him look, 35 and in shape.
No, I'm talking. I mean, I'm just talking about like the super white skin with the red eyes. Like, and I understand like this is like very comic accurate, but like he doesn't have any eyebrows, and he doesn't have like it's like the comic Bloodshot kind of works because it's like his haircut and his it's like other facial hair to kind of like break up like parts of his face.
Well, I think the problem is like he looks like right now he looks like Riddick, but like in negative.
Yeah. But I guess like so to talk, go back to Birds of Prey. Like I thought that movie was like pretty fun. I really liked all the characters. Like I think Harley Quinn's kind of a step above her in Suicide Squad. And I really liked Diana, and I really loved Helena, and it's like, and you have like characters like it's like Renee Montoya, who are like very different from like their comic versions of those characters, but they didn't seem like changed in such a way that felt like annoying or like a bad representation of the characters.
There's only one character they did that, and that's Cassandra, who's nothing like.
No, well, I mean, like Renee is like a little different from like comics Renee. Like Helena is pretty different from comics Helena.
Well, Cassandra's like basically it's just her name. She's nothing like her character, which bugs the shit out of me. I just don't even understand giving like it's the thing that annoys me in some comic book movies. I guess mostly like the older ones, but it's like why even give that? It's like giving a character a name when it's not that character. Why even bother? Just name it anything else.
Because I think also this is like I understand. And there's like nothing I can say that will definitely change like what you think about Cassandra Cain as a character in this film. But a lot of it just kind of seems like their first year of crime fighting. Like you'll eventually like you see sparks of that super confident Helena like in Helena, but like she's still like kind of unsure of herself, and same with like Black Canary and Renee. It's like you see sparks of what those characters will become later, and I'm kind of excited to see like where that goes to later.
Probably nowhere, I'm guessing, unless this like makes a really big week 2. I don't know what Warner Brothers is going to do. I feel like besides what's already like in the pipeline.
I mean, I think it depends, because I think it's I think it's what this does like over time. I think it also depends upon like it seems very receptive of the people who have seen it, really do like it, and what this does in like video sales, what this does on demand. Like it could have like there have been films that have like bad to okay openings, and then the sequel does like way better, because it's like you have like that audience that kind of discovers it with having a second life.
Yeah, I just feel like studios nowadays don't do that. Like I feel like that's something of the past, and that's just like now studios just don't wait at all.
I also assume that Birds of Prey is a huge like merchandise thing for DC, so it's like if it makes like a ton in merchandise, then it's like it'll probably be totally worth making a second.
They're kind of doing a show on it.
We're getting a second Suicide Squad movie by James Gunn.
By James Gunn with a completely different cast.
Harley Quinn's the same.
It's not a completely different cast. Like we still got
Will Smith's in there.
No, I don't think. I think he's out.
No, Boomerang's in it.
Oh, Boomerang. Fan favorite Boomerang.
Harley will be back for it.
Okay. Will she? I don't like. I guess they are. Have they even started filming or anything?
They did. There's like screenshots from like people's phones with like Harley Quinn on set with James Gunn right now, like floating around.
Okay. Because like we have the Batman. Well, Wonder Woman 84 is next. The Batman, and then what? Shazam 2 is supposed to start shooting soon.
So I'm just basically looking at the Wikipedia is not like the best, but it's basically like Harley will be back, Amanda Waller will be back, Rick Flag, Captain Boomerang. Those are like the core members of the Suicide Squad that will be back in this.
Okay.
Are we allowed to talk about Easter eggs from Harley Quinn? Because there were some for Suicide Squad. Okay. Well,
I saw I heard about the Wanted poster.
Yeah, Boomerang was in there. There was she's like walking by the police station, and there's a wanted poster of Boomerang, and she's like, "Oh, I know him." There was another one when they're like gearing up, and the cop picks up Harley Quinn's outfit from Suicide Squad, and she's like, "Memories," and I'm gonna go see them soon, something like that. But there wasn't really any other ones related to Suicide Squad.
That was actually kind of nice, by the way. That I don't know. You. Like they almost kind of like made Birds of Prey in a way that it's like it's it takes place after Suicide Squad, but like they kind of also don't involve like any of the other DC stuff. Like I feel like it's also kind of akin to Shazam.
Yeah, I was just like, oh, here's a newspaper article and a Batman.
Or like here's a Batman like action figure, and that's it, and that's really about it. And I kind of like that. Like, and if this is kind of like the way that DC's like, and this honestly could just be like DC like not really seeing like what's gonna stick. It's like, oh, Shazam stuck, Aquaman is obviously gonna stick. Wonder Woman got a second sequel, so obviously it sticks. So I'm kind of like wondering if this is like a soft rollout for like, okay, like let's see like what works, what doesn't work, and then we can incorporate it, maybe into other things later.
Yeah, well, I would say like I think this being as weak as it was coming out pushes some things away from theaters and maybe towards HBO Max more, which I don't think is a bad thing. Like the DC stuff on TV overall, like even on the app, has been fairly good. Like we got a Crisis on Infinite Earths movie, basically like a double movie with the CW shows that did shit that was fucking crazy, and like Doom Patrol, like all that stuff has like quality. So maybe they start pushing stuff towards that. We already know what we have: Green Lantern and Adam Strange. So,
and also, Ewan McGregor was really kind of funny in that movie. Like he just super hammed it up.
Well, it's good. That's what he should do.
That was one of my I think grievances I'd say with the movie was like the intimate relationship with Zaz and Black Mask was like very, I wouldn't say off-putting, but like not representative of the characters from what I've like read and seen.
Sure, but like I mean, like I talked about this also like months ago, where I'm like, Victor Zaz just supplies a stock sidekick villain that you could just like kind of kill off in this movie because like who cares? It's Victor Zaz, and I thought like Victor Zaz was like, you know, creepy in the way that he's kind of creepy in the books, but you know, but I don't know, like I like Zaz, and like Zaz obviously like trying to like just be this lapdog to Black Mask, and
it is funny that we've gotten Zaz has appeared in like more movies than the Riddler. Because he's in 2 of the Nolan movies.
But he's like barely there.
Yes, but technically he's in the what Begins and I think the last one.
Yeah. He's like the Bruce Campbell of those Nolan movies. Yeah. He just shows up in the background.
Yeah, but they name drop him, which is like so weird. I don't know. I will check it out, which means I finally have to give in and watch Suicide Squad, which
you don't.
Yeah, you really don't have to watch Suicide Squad.
I do.
Like this movie actually just like does like hey, like this is me, this is who I am. And it's done this like kind of really fun animated like way. But yeah, like I think being a rated R film, like there really wasn't like a whole lot outside of like language and a couple like or like a few like very violent moments. Like it kind of just feels like it didn't earn like its R rating. Like I feel like they could have honestly have just put this movie out as a PG-13 movie and it probably would have done better.
Yeah, like I heard one of the violent scenes. I'm like in the description, I guess it was at a club and she jumps on somebody. And
she jumps on someone's legs.
Yeah. And I was just like, I get the idea of like showing, I guess, her being tough like that, but I'm like, yeah, there's ways to do that scene where you don't have to be like as graphic, maybe, and then get the PG-13.
But like that's in the parental guidance trailer. Like
when I went to the theater,
jumping on the guy's legs is in the Green Band trailer.
Wow. But do they? They don't show his legs in the trailer.
Yeah.
Do they?
Yeah.
Oh.
What was it? I think the only reason why I have an issue is because the animated show of Harley Quinn is basically the first few episodes, and that's the movie. But they went in a completely different direction. But I don't know. There wasn't really that much graphic violence in Harley Quinn, though.
Yeah, it might be the cursing, because like if you have like, do they drop a shit ton of F-bombs?
They do.
Not, but there's a few, but yeah.
No, but you're only allowed 1 in PG-13.
It's really like Logan. It's like Logan, where it's like you watch it and it's a rated R superhero film, and it's like they gotta drop like a bunch of like swears to basically earn that rated R moniker. But it's like
if he like, I guess Logan makes more sense to me. Like if you're cutting people into pieces, like character wise, like if he's literally like chopping people up, then like Harley Quinn, because like again, like Ryan said, like the cartoon, like I think does an amazing job of depicting that character. And there are violent things in the cartoon, and they do curse, but they don't need to. But like you can still, that character doesn't need to be hyper violent or cursing all the time. And playing, if there was just a F-bomb and they saved it for like an awesome scene, would have worked probably better than a million of them.
But yeah, like I'm just saying, like I kind of wish that they would have tried to earn a rated R rating a little bit more. And if they weren't going to, it's like, well, I feel like you could have done a little bit and made PG-13. You probably would have.
Yeah, I think it goes to like what you have talked about in the past, like that Deadpool thing of like, oh, like it's kind of like a way to like kind of make it a thing, and this is a movie that tried to do that and it didn't help it.
Yeah. Oh, this movie also looked a lot like Batman Forever in a lot of ways. And I'm not like trying to like despair. Like I kind of like that neonish, like dark, like Tim Burton aesthetic.
Well, that's when Schumacher was on a leash still.
Yeah, and this movie kind of does that too. Like, I kind of like wish like all like it reminds me of like a lot of the advertising for Suicide Squad that promised like what that movie would kind of look like, and then you watch Suicide Squad and it's just dark on dark on dark on dark. And then this movie, it's like, oh, like you have like this bright, colorful, like Hot Topic-ish.
Well, that's a lessons
like
learned
marketing for it.
Shazam.
And then the movie like actually has that look, and I'm like, oh, cool. Like at least I'm getting what I paid for.
Oh, so at least they learned the color palette that they was positive in Aquaman and Shazam, which appears to be the case in Wonder Woman as well. Where that costume's in color now. Look how pretty it is. So I did not watch that. I don't know if any of you. I watched all of Lock and Key.
I did too. I finished it.
I didn't even know it was out.
It was good. I enjoyed it.
Instead of watching Lock and Key, I ended up binging Tangled, the animated show on Disney.
I found it to be fine. Like, it has problems. Like, again, I think this is what ages me. It's like, I thought I was going to get more of like a horror magic-y show.
Mm-hmm.
It was more kiddie though.
And it's more like Riverdale meets Narnia.
That's unfortunate.
Like, I just like I don't care for the high school drama stuff, and my biggest problem is like when people in like if it's supposed to be like real world and then they're introduced to magic, it bothers me when characters don't like shit their pants about it and doesn't like break their if they don't if they're like, oh my god, magic keys, I still have to go to high school and they're still like shitty kids, blah 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 blah. Like, I just like, seriously, you have a fucking magic key that lets you enter your head. Like, why does any of this shit matter to you? You can use it to cheat on all. Like, you can just throw your textbook into your head, and now you know all the answers for forever.
Yeah, that's my thing was like, why are you showing off these keys to your friends? Like,
my god, yes. Yeah.
Like, you're showing like, what was it? The guy just walks up the stairs, and he's like, "Is that a magic key?" And she's like, "Yeah, you want to try it?" And I was like, "What are you doing? Stop! Shut up!"
Yeah, and I know it's like Joe Hill, Stephen King, some of just like, I haven't read the comics, so I don't know how close it is to the comic book, but like, I'll check the comic, but I'm just like it's, I don't know. It seems very.
The Lock and Key TV show I hear is not super.
Oh, it's not at all. Like, almost at all.
And that seems like a weird take.
That's why I was very disappointed. Like, it is like, I would say like if you could show that show to like, I don't know, like a 13-year-old and be fine. There's maybe only like
I think two
very violent scenes, maybe.
Well, yeah, like when the guy, like, spoilers, but like when the deranged kid comes home to the guidance counselor and just shoots up the family, like that's like one scene, and maybe the other would be
a kid gets thrown in front of a train.
Yeah, she just kills this kid.
Cool. Does he explode?
No, like she
away.
It was like,
and then the door closes. You hear
she's like, "What is?"
coming.
Yeah, it was totally unexpected. He's like, "What does your key do?" And she like opens the door to a subway, and she just throws him in the train track. And I was like, "Holy crap!" It was totally unexpected. I thought she was just like push him through the door.
Yeah, and like, I guess the teaser thing with the fire, like, there's like, I guess maybe like 4 pretty violent scenes, but like otherwise it's nothing compared to Stranger Things, like on any level whatsoever.
Maybe they'll address that in season 2. Like, maybe they'll hear like
get a season 2.
They announced it.
Oh,
I think they got announced like before it even dropped.
That's unfortunate. Yeah, the comic is pretty fun. It starts out very like visceral with murder and death and gore. So hearing that they took that out is like kind of odd.
Yeah, I know Eric from like the show basically said that he watched the first episode and he's like, yeah, they basically play down like the mom is an alcoholic, like in recovery, as opposed to like just being a drunk throughout the whole thing.
I enjoyed it. They did change up some of the keys though, but other than that, the keys work out fine.
This honestly like sounds a lot like when Netflix did Umbrella Academy, and I was like kind of upset that they changed like so much from the source material that they kind of like, I feel like changed like the feel of the show, and this feels like the same thing.
Having watched that, I read the book after. I still think like Umbrella Academy gets like trying to figure out how to say this.
A pass.
They're close enough, and it's still in the same kind of genre it's playing with, but it's doing stuff a little different. When this feels like this is the first time where I could say something like actually got Disneyfied, and like I think that's an appropriate term.
Do you think they got like worried that if they made a supernatural horror show involving like teenagers that they would
be Stranger Things too?
Yeah, so they were like, well, like let's make it different from it.
I kind of think that like it seems like it's a Stranger Things that's okay for younger kids, which is weird. And I do think one of the other things is like I think the writing for the kids is much worse than the writing for like the kids in Stranger Things, even in season 1, like the older kids, it's like it makes so much more sense the way they talk to each other. And in this, it's like bad Riverdale discussions. Like it's that level of like,
woof.
Yeah. Like it's just like it's like teenage drama on like a soap opera-y level, like those like a tween soap opera level, like Pretty Little Liars kind of a thing. And yeah, so it's just like it's not for me. I'm a 33-year-old man. I watched it. I gave it a try.
You got shit to do.
Yeah. Like, I gave it a try. I watched a whole season of it. It like when stuff was going, like when shit was happening, I was like, "Oh, this is awesome!" And then they would go to school, and I'd be like, "Fuck my life!" Like, "Oh my god, skip forward."
Just like real life. Just, oh fuck, I gotta go to school.
Yeah. Let's tackle a couple of these news stories before we jump into our comic book. So a bunch of art's been released for the sequel to Dark Knight Metal, which
so good.
Looks
I'm
metal.
So pumped.
I do want to read that thing that I think Alan shared it in the comics group that Snyder wrote. Yeah. So Snyder tweeted his goals for DC death metal: make you care through big heartfelt moments, make it all connect, make you what the fuck, give you way more than you pay for, make you cheer, make it us, yours, ours, rock the fuck out, and have some fun by doing it, because why not? Nothing left to prove. And I am hype as all hell for it. I love the character design. Specifically of Wonder Woman, looks amazing in this design with her magic chainsaw thing that she has.
I'm not a fan of the Superman look. Yeah, with the brass knuckles.
It's so 90s. I love it.
That's the thing. It's like it's so 90s, and I'm sure, yeah. And Batman with a scythe is pretty awesome.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
This is like Spawn inside of
which is Capullo drew Spawn for like forever.
Yeah, and it's awesome. So he's getting to just kind of repurpose some of his designs here.
I should really read Metal at some point.
It's
really
really fun, and it does like. It is definitely Snyder doing a Morrison. Like, he pulls from Morrison, but he pulls from, like, his own stuff and mythos, and everything ties back in like, an insane way.
And I only really need to read the 6 issues, right? I don't need to read any of the side shit. Okay.
I would read the 6 issues, and then I would, at most, otherwise read, like, the one-shots for the different Batmen.
Yeah, those are fun.
Specifically Red Death and, was it Killing Machine?
Mm-hmm. Is the
Cyborg one?
Yeah, that's Killing Machine.
I think those are the 2 best ones. Like the Aquaman one is okay. The Wonder Woman one is okay.
I like the Green Lantern one.
Oh, the Green Lantern one is good too. And the Superman one is fine. Like the Doomsday.
Yeah, the Doomsday Batman.
But the Flash and the Cyborg one are like very very heartstring pulley.
Yeah. Yeah, the Death Machine one is
the Death Machine one is really good. Yeah. And the character design is awesome for both of those characters.
All of Capullo's designs are gorgeous in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
He just puts like a lot of detail in what seems like not a lot of space. It's very, very pretty.
Yeah. And a book I forgot was even existing, even though I read the first issue was postponed, which is that J.J. Abrams Spider-Man book.
Oh, what?
I did not even remember. Like, I bought the first issue. I did not even know. I forgot that it was coming out. And I guess 2 other issues have come out. And issue 4 was supposed to be in December. Then it was pushed back to February, and now it's back to April.
Man, nepotism's a hell of a drug, man.
Yeah,
You would think, like, if you were trying to get your start into writing comics, you would try and get a comic in on time.
Now, I always wonder this, like, is it the writers or is it the artists of why these things get pushed back?
I think, in these instances, it's you look at like who has a reputation of being late. Sarah Pacelli doesn't have a history. J.J. Abrams and Henry Abrams. I don't know. Seems like people who can't get a script in on time. Like it's like Shazam. Well, why is Shazam late? I don't know. Well, like maybe it's the writer of Doomsday Clock and a bunch of other really late books. Maybe it's a combination of the two. But in this instance, like I would probably put money on that J.J. Abrams and Henry Abrams are, taking their time writing this 5-issue Spider-Man book. Which I feel bad for Sarah Pacelli in this whole thing, because, it's like this is like money she's not getting. This is not work she's not doing.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I got distracted by looking at some of the art that was released for this new metal thing. That was fucking awesome. But yeah, I agree with you. I also don't give a fuck about that book anymore, but like I figured it was kind of a news story.
Yeah, well, and then on the flip side, DC's got some late books. So
they're always late with everything.
Well, so there was a Birds of Prey one-shot from that was a Black Label book that from Brian Azzarello and Emmanuel Lepacino that was supposed to come out in December, and they got pushed back to March, and now it's being pushed back again to April. So there was a Birds of Prey book that actually came out today. I picked up Harley Quinn, the Birds of Prey, from Amanda Connor and Jimmy Panamati. I haven't had time to read it yet, but
I totally forgot today was a Wednesday.
But it was a Black Label book, which again, like I don't know, like necessarily if the Birds of Prey book needs to be a Black Label book, but Jimmy Panamati and Amanda Connor doing Birds of Prey is not a bad thing.
They can swear in a Black Label book.
When we did like another show the other day, I was like, I think like the Black Label, the way they like promoted early on did it such a disservice. Like, just say like they're a higher level book, like higher quality, like people on it, they're gonna come out on time, and higher quality paper, and they're a little bit more expensive. Call it prestige or whatever you want.
I will say this, like I did see the first page, and I'm not saying that this is the reason why I buy it. I buy like pretty much like most Birds of Prey comics. But I saw the first page, and it's Harley Quinn and I think Poison Ivy like on a beach, and they have like instead of like a bikini, they're wearing like pasties. And I'm like, yeah, that seems like an Amanda Connor book, and I'm like, okay, I'll read this later. When I'm not like on the bus. Oh yeah. Also, there was I guess a Harley Quinn Poison Ivy miniseries that was coming out, and I was flipping through that, and I guess they were doing like some story where Poison Ivy is going to change like the way that she is.
Yeah, I think I read the first issue of that where she was like something happened to her and she was like not being able to hold her form.
Yeah, so like I'm like kind of flipping through it, and they're gonna like build up this big moment where like Poison Ivy is gonna say goodbye to Harley, and you're expecting like this, this big like kind of kiss, and then Poison Ivy like going away, and you flip to the page for the kiss, like the fucking moment you would want in like a Harley Quinn Poison Ivy like relationship, and it's Ivy kissing Harley on the forehead, and then running off to basically fight her other self, to basically be erased. And I'm like, really? Like, in a Poison Ivy Harley Quinn comic, we can't even get them, like, kissing? Like, we can't do that now? I'm like, and I was
I feel like they've done that before.
They have. Like,
I feel like they haven't even been subtle about their relationship, like, at all.
If I would have bought like 6 issues of that series and got to that page, I would probably been. But
I actually do remember now. The whole problem it starts off is that like because she's the weird replicated self post what do you call it? Crisis. What was the stupid crisis? Heroes in Crisis. Yeah. So that's why she was all messed up.
But yeah, the other book that is going to be late is Doom Patrol: Way of the World's #7. Because that book is just always late, and I just assume, like, hey, when it comes out, it comes out. And then Legion of Superheroes #5 slipped a week from March 4th, which, in the grand scheme of things, seems pretty fine.
Mm-hmm. I do think that this, to jump to the next thing, this crossover is hilarious.
Yeah. So IDW is going to put out a Transformers and My Little Pony crossover book called Friendship in Disguise.
That's hilarious. Because currently they're doing TMNT Power Rangers crossover, I believe.
Yeah, they just got their morphers.
That sounds cool as shit.
And that's like a crossover with IDW and Boom Studios. But what's really cool about this, it's going to be written by Ian Flynn, who writes like the vast majority of the Sonic the Hedgehog comics. He wrote all of the Mega Man comics for, I think it was IDW that was doing those Mega Man comics. That were like super rad. Like if you like Mega Man at all, and you like kind of want to know about Mega Man lore, those Mega Man comics are very good. But yeah, so Ian Flynn's like really good at adapting stuff. And then the other co-writer is going to be James Asmus, who has previously written for Valiant, for Quantum and Woody, for Marvel, for Gambit. He's written like bits and ends stuff for like DC and Boom Studios. So it's like a pretty good creative team. And I think the art team is like the usual My Little Pony art crew. But yeah, this will be coming out in November, so it's quite a while away. But it sounds rad, and it looks like it's like a graphic novel, so it's not even going to be like single issue comics. It's just like you buy the graphic novel, and that's what it is, which I think is like a better deal.
Easier to consume for a younger audience, too. It's just like all there.
Yeah, I wonder if there's also going to be a point where the ponies transform into like robots, or
the robots
transform into ponies.
The robots are going to change into ponies. I'm going to call that now.
Megatron becomes a good guy while learning about friendship, and it's Starscream who like learns about friendship and like tries to like become better friends with Megatron, and Megatron's like, "You fool, Starscream!" And yeah, I'm very excited.
We all should be. That's a crossover that I don't think anybody actually saw coming.
No. What else do we hear? Sony announced a time for a Marvel movie for next October. No one knows what it is. Venom 2 is already coming out this year, so it's probably not that. I don't think they would have a turnaround for a Morbius 2 in that time span.
They still have to drop Morbius.
I keep forgetting that it exists.
Yeah,
it's like you remember what?
If people want to see like what a real superhero disaster will be, it'll be Morbius. Because I would put money on that movie, like not making much money.
I just want to remind everybody. You remember how they did an Alfred TV show?
Oh, holy crap!
God, are they still doing that?
I think no. It was like a year ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, it had to be.
This is not good. If we have to talk like this,
because it's called Pennyworth, right?
Yeah.
Oof.
I'm googling it now. I keep forgetting that even happened because I think it was supposed to tie into. It was last July.
It was supposed to tie into Gotham, wasn't it?
Or was this supposed
to tie into tied into Gotham?
I thought it was supposed to tie into the movie universe. Yeah, the last episode was in September.
Season 2 confirmed.
That's a lie. Don't lie. Don't lie to the people.
But and I know that like Sony kind of gets like flack for when they announce like the Silver Sable or the Black Hat movie, which I thought Black and Silver could have been like a really cool idea.
Yeah, but a Black Hat movie, Silver Sable, no one gives a shit about.
But I think that's also like a pretty good canvas. Like I think
Silver Sable is like shitty Black Widow.
It's just white costume instead of black costume.
But she's like on a team with like the Sandman and Dominic Fortune and like those are cool characters.
Who the fuck are those?
She's an Eastern European like super spy assassin person.
I only know
but
about
her hair is white and her outfit is silver.
It actually wouldn't surprise me. Like if I were to put like money on what the film from next year will be, it would probably be Secret Six, because we're starting to see like all those characters like slowly starting to like kind of like show up. Like am I like dumb, or wasn't there like a big moment with the Vulture in that Morbius trailer?
Oh no, that happened. That was there.
Okay.
Well, it's Keaton, but they don't say who he is.
Oh, it's totally him.
And he's taking out the trash or something, isn't he?
Because he's in prison.
Yeah,
No, he's on the street.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It could just be a cameo.
Yeah, and there's the Spider-Man posters. I don't know.
But I mean, it's like I think they're like slowly kind of building up like a crew. It's like they want to do a Sinister Six movie. It's totally there in the cards.
Will they have all the villains necessary for it?
Yeah, they can do it pretty. It depends on which group, because and they have said that Mysterio is still alive. I believe
is he?
What?
It's been confirmed. Yeah. I'm pretty sure that somebody from Marvel said that he's still alive.
Well, we get Venom 2, so that's Carnage, and then but I don't think Carnage would be in that movie.
No. But it would be like, say it's Sinestro, it's Vulture, it's Shocker, Scorpion, Black Cat. Because Shocker and Scorpion were both in the first. We were in Homecoming.
Yeah. I mean, like they can do it. Like it'd be interesting. I think it kind of depends on like what like is Morbius a bad guy?
If Morbius bombs as epically hard as it possibly could, I don't know what that means. Future of like those Sony films.
And then the last story here is that Strange Adventures, the next comic from Tom King and Mitch Gerrits and Evan Shaner. Well, Tom King and Mitch Gerrits, the team behind Mr. Miracle, about Am Strange will be a Black Label book.
Oh, cool.
Which at this point, like I don't really know what that means, but I mean, Mr. Miracle is kind of a Black Label book. That's not a Black Label book, so
yeah, I guess maybe I don't know. There'll be like a sex scene with him and Big Barda. I don't know.
But yeah, I mean, like I think I've like also said on the show, like I like know next to nothing about Adam Strange, and I kind of never.
Oh, you said Adam? Sorry, yeah, Adam Strange. He's a goofy.
He's Flash Gordon. He's like DC Flash Gordon.
He's Flash Gordon. Yeah, that's exactly. He's a human scientist who figures out a thing.
No, not Flash Gordon. Buck Rogers, right?
Yes, that's yeah. I don't know why I was thinking of Buck Rogers, not Flash Gordon too. He gets transported to an alien planet, and he's like their savior, and he falls in love with one of the women there. But every 6 months, he gets transported back to Earth with his Zeta beam.
Yeah, you know way more than I. Like, I know that he's from Ran.
And he goes. He's human. He goes to Ran.
Yeah, and then he fights, and then like
they fight the Thanagarians,
and like that's about all I know.
Yeah, who are the Hawk people?
So,
and I believe in most of the comics, one of their problems on Ran is that like they're sterile. And so him being there is like a way for them to continue to procreate. And his wife is like the princess. It's like very 60s sci-fi. Like,
but yeah, if anyone's got like a way of getting me into Adam Strange, would be the team behind Mr. Miracle and the Vision.
Which is funny because like
really like the Vision. It was a good book.
It seems like that book is getting turned into that TV show.
Yeah.
Yep. I really hope Viv shows up in that.
And which means that like, oh, maybe if this book is coming out, maybe that's the TV show that they're making. Because that was the rumor, was that King was writing that TV show.
That would be cool.
Because why the hell else are they making an Adam Strange goddamn show for HBO Max?
Mm-hmm.
Was there any other news, or did anybody have anything they wanted to talk about that they're reading before we take our time machine to 2002?
Yeah, so before I won't really talk about it because from what it sounds like no one else like picked them up because they forgot it was Wednesday, but I read the newest X-Men.
Oh, I did read them. I just didn't realize it was I don't know.
Yeah, I read the newest X-Men, and basically like all the stuff with like there was that point in House of X where Mystique was asking Xavier for Destiny to be brought back to life, and Moira McTaggart was like, "Yeah, we ain't bringing back Destiny back to life."
That bitch lit me on fire.
And I'm like, man, that's really gonna like come back to bite everyone in the ass someday. And that someday was today. Well, it's gonna be the start of being bitten in the ass because I think Mystique is starting to find out that they're not gonna bring back her wife.
Yeah, well, they reveal. Well, one they drop, which I do like that she's like, bring back, I want my goddamn wife or something she says, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they reveal that before she died, she told Mystique.
Which, by the way, like when reading or when flipping through that Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy book and seeing like them just like not like sticking the landing like on that emotional moment, and then you see in this book where Mystique's like, "Give me back my goddamn wife." I'm like, yes, I want them back, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, continue.
But like she's just like basically like, yeah, I have a thing to tell you, and you're gonna think I'm crazy, but I'm not crazy. And listen to me. Basically, they're gonna have an island, and everything's gonna seem awesome. And what you need to do is want me back. And if they say no, because they're gonna say no, burn the motherfucker down. And I was like, oh, shit's about to get real on Krakoa.
Yeah,
did anyone?
And there was like a moment also in that book where Xavier was acting like a real dickhead.
Yeah, well, they flash back to when she's like, the previous one was like, oh, can you do this thing for us? And then it's like, well, I need you to do this thing. Oh, you can't do it for your fellow mutant. And then like she says something, and then he's like, oh, we can't. It's like, oh, you can't do this for your fellow mutant. He's just like, everybody has to do a thing for a thing. I think is kind of like his saying or whatever he does. I don't know. Yeah. Well, Xavier's always a dick. Not as much as Mr. Fantastic, which we did talk about last week, but that Fantastic Four X-Men book, did anybody else read that?
I did. I was just about to bring that up.
Because Reed is a piece of shit.
Oh yeah.
To be fair, Xavier's the same. Xavier's.
But Reed chipped his kid.
Well, I know that, but that's understandable.
Yeah, but he chipped him so he couldn't go through the gate. Because Franklin's like, and then Ghost, it's like, it doesn't work. It was so good. And I did like Tiger Mom Sue, where she's just like, I'll fucking kill all of you people. I don't give a shit.
Mm-hmm.
Puts Magneto in a bubble and just lets him float away.
Yeah, there was some good stuff. Excalibur, I read this week's.
Not
Excalibur
this week?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I read X-Force.
Yeah.
That was interesting. So there's Reverse Domino.
So I think so the basic setup of this book, in the first issue, like Domino gets captured by like the anti-mutant like group that's like hanging around right now, of one of many, as we're seeing right now, and they basically like cuts off like pieces of her skin. And
it's her like almost her whole right leg, chunks of her abdomen, and her entire like left arm, possibly on her chest, up to her like neck, and then half her face.
And so this issue is basically like set up where Domino is talking to Sage, and Domino has had Sage like look up all these like really like weird assassinations that have started to happen, like stuff that's like really impossible, like headshots from like a mile away from a moving target, like on the ocean. That would be like a 1 in a billion shot. And she's like starting to figure out that people are like basically like either someone is like using her abilities to do these assassinations, or it's this one assassin who has like her abilities now because of like this grafting. And Domino ends up like finding out like who she ends up like stopping assassination before it happens. It's like this big kind of James Bond-esque chase scene that's like pretty fun. And like, yeah, at the end of it, it's revealed that the assassin is Domino,
but the negative.
but the negative version of Domino. So it's like she's all black except for like a white eye. And yeah,
and she kind of has like a gray white hair instead of the black hair.
So it's like, did they grow her in a lab?
That's what I'm thinking, that she's a clone. Because the other thing is that Domino's luck is actually being bad luck, she says. Like, yeah. She's basically it's not that she's lost her powers are almost the reverse. So like she has like die, she's like usually be like sevens or boxcars, and now it's always Snake Eyes. So that was interesting. I don't know. I've still been digging all like the X-Men stuff. There's just so many books, and it's just too much.
There is a lot of X-Men. It's very expensive.
Yeah, and all of them, like some of like the one is like ended, but like I don't know, like I'm not as interested in some of them as I was anymore. Like Excalibur has been interesting, but it's not. I don't know. It hasn't caught me. X-Force, I think, has done a better job of catching me than some of the other stuff. I can't remember. Like, I think because there's New Mutants, and what's the other one? X Factor? No.
Like books that are coming out, or books that
No,
are
what's
out
the
now?
other? Because there's like 5 of them. It's like X-Men, X-Force, Excalibur, New Mutants, and there's like another one.
Fallen Angels, but that's over.
No, there was another one too. Because there's the one that Boom Boom was part of, and Armor.
That's also New Mutants.
Oh, just 2 different New Mutant teams that book's following?
Because they're doing 2 different storylines right now.
Okay, because I like the one team. Like, I like the Earth team. I don't really give a shit about the space team right now.
Yeah. So the space team is off, like, doing their thing, and then, like, I think they're trading every other issue.
Yeah, okay, then that's what it is, yeah. Because, like, the space team is Magic, Sunspot, and I can't remember who else.
Oh, I also forgot. They announced a Juggernaut miniseries from Fabian Nicieza and Ron Garney, and the art for that looks very cool. I'm also, like, kind of interested to know, like, what that book is about, since Juggernaut's not a mutant. And
are they doing a Deadpool book for like Krakoa stuff too soon?
Not that I've seen.
I think they're doing it. I think they announced that they're doing some sort of tie-in.
It might be like within the Deadpool
Monster Island or something.
I
don't remember. I read it on something a while ago.
But yeah, basically, like, with Juggernaut not being a mutant, but his brother and his best friend / possible lover on Krakoa, it's like, what does Juggernaut do? I think that'd be fun to see.
Mm-hmm. All right. So, did anybody else have anything they wanted to talk about?
I'm good.
All right. Well, we're gonna take the Wayback Machine to 16 years ago to Marvel Comics.
My friend, it's 18 years ago.
You're old.
Wait.
We're all old. Yeah.
Oh my god, yeah,
was
2020.
18 years
No,
ago.
it's not. It's that I can't do math.
Oh, okay. Aren't you going to be a teacher?
Social science. There's no math in that.
Yeah.
But this does have more. This is 2002. The Marvel has the idea to take I guess Mark Millar and start their entire universe over, which doesn't start with the Ultimates. I think X-Men and Spider-Man are the start.
Okay, so the Ultimate Universe basically launches with Ultimate Spider-Man, X-Men, Fantastic Four, and Ultimates.
Simultaneously?
Yeah. I believe simultaneous.
Because I'm trying to remember the other book that gets added at some point, because there was Ultimate Daredevil and there was Ultimate Team-Ups, and...
Okay, so it launches with Ultimate Spider-Man and Ultimate X-Men, followed by the Ultimates and Ultimate Fantastic Four, and then it kind of explodes after them.
Yeah,
because like, the core 4 of those.
Yeah, because they mentioned Spider-Man and mutants a lot in the Ultimate, being, as well as eventually they talk about the Fantastic Four as well.
There's one offhand reference to it.
Yeah, but yeah, the entire idea behind it is to restart the universe as if everything is starting today, as in 2012 or 2002. So it's a completely new continuity and a completely new universe. The slate is wiped clean. And it's like reinterpretations of these characters and how they would be in modern time. And this is kind of what the MCU bases a lot of their characters and stories after, at least in the beginning.
I think they're, like, as you start, like, kind of reading it, there are things like the Triskelion, you know, like the Nick Fury of this book, like stuff that they heavily, like, do pull from this book for the movies.
Mm-hmm.
But like the Captain America, like, in this book
is not the same.
Is not the same.
No.
Like,
the Captain America we get in the movie basically OG 616 Cap.
Yeah,
Iron Man is basically as well OG 616. It's more of like Hulk is kind of a mix.
Oh, I hated the Hulk in this. I hate him.
Oh, he's a joke in this, but like there's like kind of a like, I mean, like the creation of the Hulk is a little bit mixed. The Triskelion, the idea of what they do with the super soldier program is kind of what it continues into the MCU.
You know, it was like kind of funny, like, rereading this book. I was just like, you know, this book is like not kind of bad, like not so bad. Like, I'm like, what was the thing I really didn't like about this book. And then I got to issue 6. I'm like, oh yeah, I remember now. This book fucking sucks.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, what's funny is like that is a reinterpretation of something that was in what, like the 70s.
Yeah, but it's just like if you're also like reinterpreting like Marvel continuity, it's like, hey, maybe don't fucking do that scene.
You mean when Hank Pym summons the ants at Wasp?
Oh, yeah, we'll get to it, which is why.
Yeah.
So we're going to cover 1 through 6. I do think issue 1 we could kind of like would just barely even cover because it's basically just the Cap origins, which have virtually no difference from the 616. Like, what is different?
He calls somebody an asshole.
Yeah, it's the language is a little different. He still gets on the rocket. It goes up, he stops it, and he gets dropped off in the Arctic. And the end of it is he's found by a group of people who we don't know who they are, and they're like, oh, blah, blah, blah. And then that's kind of all of issue 1. Like, issue 1's kind of just the Cap origins for this world. Did anybody have anything else they wanted to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, the first issue is like not bad. Like, it's a super bare bones retelling of the origin of Captain America.
Yeah, who's kind of the only character we get like a real origin for.
Yeah, that's like also like a little confusing
because I don't think they give us Iron Man's origin until like Ultimate Iron Man book.
Yeah, they just kind of hope you read Thor and Iron Man and
Thor. Thor didn't even get his own Ultimate book.
Which, if I remember right, Ultimate Iron Man is
oh, I know, I remember all the shit
not good.
He is. I can't remember all the stuff, but so his parents were working. His mom was working on this thing where like it would make people smarter, but the problem was when it would infect people, they would basically die from a fever. But since she was pregnant, Tony would be born with it so that it wouldn't be a problem. So if I remember correctly, his entire body is basically made out of brain cells. So that is why he's so goddamn smart.
Sorry, what?
Yes. And his father is framed for murder. Like, Ultimate Iron Man book is goddamn insane. Like, it is. Yeah, like, half of the book is about his parents.
Yeah, you know who wrote that book, by the way?
Who?
Orson Scott Card.
Really?
Pretty famous sci-fi writer.
Is also, that Ender's Game?
Wow.
Yeah. Also known later as like a pretty renowned bigot.
Yeah, I was gonna say, isn't he like a super anti-Semitic guy?
Yeah, he is. I remember, like, the reason I found out about him was because the game Shadowrun came out, or not Shadowrun, Shadow Complex came out. And it was based off one of his things. I like the game, and then it comes out. He's like, every sale of this game supports the anti-LGBTQ community, and I was like, well, fuck, why did I buy this game?
He's a pretty big homophobe.
Yeah, from everything I've heard, he's basically he's a big piece of shit. So yeah. To circle back, so issue 2 is where we kind of jump into the real, like, present day New York City, and it's Nick Fury and what we revealed to be Bruce Banner are talking. Then we get a kind of flashback to Spider-Man, which is Spider-Man fighting the Hulk. And so in this version, at least early on, it's like a Hulk serum, and if he takes it, he hulks out, but then it gets out of his system. But because of the incident, he is not going to be the leader of this team to make a superhero team.
And this is the first part, like, why I was like a little confused, where like we get the scene with like Spider-Man fighting the Hulk, but like Spider-Man's drawn like adult
like
Peter Parker.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait, when did this happen? And I was like, oh, this book must have happened like
because the Ultimate Spider-Man is like 15? Like he's really young.
Did I miss a part in here, like why they don't bring in Spider-Man?
I don't know.
They just never bring it up.
I think it's not till later they bring it up that he's just like. I think it's in one of the Spider-Man books that they're like. Fury basically tells him like, yeah, you're just underage. The second you turn 18, you are leading the Avengers because it's like you have more experience than anybody else here. Like you've been a superhero for forever. Which I also read Ultimate Hulk versus Wolverine, so. The whole Hulk and Wolverine, like they changed the mutants so much in this too. But Banner and Fury, which this is the first huge change. So before this, Fury was like old white guy, and he's literally Samuel Jackson with eye patch. He looks like they designed him after Samuel Jackson, and they make that joke in the comic.
Yeah, they call out both Robert Downey Jr. and Samuel L. Jackson, which I think is just perfect. Like, it was almost like he just called it before it was even thought.
Except for the Robert Downey Jr. joke is...
Oh, that one was like...
Is,
it was
is a very disparaging joke. Like, it's... Because, like, the whole scene where they were, like, all talking about, like, well, they're gonna make a movie about us. Like, who would play us in a movie?
Yeah, because doesn't Stark say, like, Johnny Depp or something for him?
No, someone says Johnny Depp for him.
And he's like, Johnny Depp, like, he's a hack. And then, like, they were like, Brad Pitt for Thor. And the only one they got right was Samuel L. Jackson for Nick Fury.
So basically, this whole conversation is that he's demoted. But then we cut to their former super soldier research facility in Pittsburgh. And this is where we get introduction to Hank, Pym, and Janet. Did they say her whole name in this? Is it Van Dyne?
I assume it's Van Dyne.
Yeah. So the big difference here is, which I guess is very subtle, but she's Asian is the big change. Because it gets made reference. And so Pym is working on his very old school looking Ant-Man helmet and talking about how they're moving. And Janet transforms and she's in her suit with her shield logo. And basically this is where the reference, like, it's the two of them. It's, oh my God, I'm losing my mind. It's Hulk. It's Banner, and then he says, like, Tony Stark is on the team. And basically this is where we start the beginning of, like, Pym is kind of like, I don't know how to say it. Like, how would you describe it? Like, he's kind of
aloof.
He's aloof, but he's also, like, very egotistical. I think it's like he's super confident, and he's like a guy who knows that he basically got put in charge of a project, and it's like it's like his like confidence is like through the roof. Yes.
I know there's a different word for the confidence part. Like it's not it's like egotistical, but it's not quite that word.
Yeah, they're cocky. Yeah, he's cocky. They're like, because they're shitting on Banner, but then they're also like joking about like Tony Stark, which then we cut to Manhattan, and this is like, besides the design of the suit, very similar to early Iron Man movies and Avengers. Iron Man flying through Manhattan, he's doing like a flyby like windows, the way he lands on the platform. The only big difference is when he comes out of the suit, he's covered in goo, and the design of the suit is vastly different than anything else.
I almost kind of like wonder if him coming out with the goo is like a callback to like Evangelion with the plug suits.
Oh, that's a good point.
Well, if you actually see it, he has holes all over his body. Like, the suit literally connects.
Yeah, there's like an injection ports on his arms and everything.
Yeah. So I do think it's very much like he's in a very amniotic sac inside.
Uh-huh.
And as well as like he comes out, he's drinking. He looks like he's like a 30-something-year-old Tony Stark.
He's kind of a jerk to Jarvis.
Yeah, which absolutely. Jarvis is an old, like, he's literally like Fat Alfred from like Batman.
Well, I mean, he's like 616 Jarvis.
Yes. And then Tony and Fury walking through, and they talk about stuff, and this is where we get kind of the way they're talking. It's like, so there's me, there's Pym, that poor little wife that he shrunk, whatever Marine we like shoot up with Banner's Captain America formula. And he's like, can't we lose Banner? Like, you know, like, we don't really need someone, like, it's hard to trust him.
Yeah, Banner sucks. He's like a dumb nerd.
And he's a ticking time bomb. And then they're like, there's this Thor guy in Europe. And it's like, he's like, and Thor's like this weird hippie anti-capitalist, like, I don't know how else, like, they like, it's weird.
Greenpeace.
Yeah, he's like green.
Yeah.
And then Tony's like, have you talked to the Fantastic Four? And it's like, all the negative press they've been getting from their neighbors lately, I don't even think about it.
God, this also, like, this book just loves to just name drop movie stars of that ever.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, I'm going to go talk to the president and then go have drinks with Cameron Diaz. Like, by the way, do you know that Betty Ross is going to go and have drinks with Freddie Prinze Jr.?
Oh, there's so many pop culture references. They draw Shannon Elizabeth in like a 1-page panel.
Yeah, it's like a full page.
It's like I feel like a lot of it was just like, if we draw them in or we talk about them, maybe they want to be a part of our movies.
Yeah.
No.
Well, they got one guy.
Yeah, fair enough.
They got Stammy.
Yep. So then we go through all that, and Banner shows up, and is it Janet that meets him at the helicopter? And basically, he's just like a douche to her, and he's all weird. And him and Betty are separated currently after she got into some weird guru thing, which I wonder if they're implying that it's Thor that she's been listening to, because Thor's kind of like a weird guru in this as well.
They a lot to say.
Yeah,
almost, like, I don't know, like it almost might be just a topical reference for that era. Yeah.
So then we cut to the lab, and Janet's with Banner, and it's like, oh, Pym's gonna try his giant formula, and he does this whole thing, and the lights go out, and he's like screaming, oh my god, like I can't, what's going on? And then they turn the lights on, and he's just messing with them, and he's naked and smiling, and Janet's like, you're a dick, like, and he's like,
yeah, but like she's like, but it's like also it's like at this point, like Hank and like Janet's relationship seems to be like two super confident people who are just like kind of in love with each other, and I like it.
Yeah, well, that's to say the other thing I like is that while this is the what do you call it, like the Penn Jillette looking guy is like, oh, isn't this awesome, Mr. Banner or Dr. Banner? And then you have like the hook eyes. I was like, oh, I like that idea of like he's just like it's like right there, and in this case he doesn't have the formula, so he's not hulking out, but like it's just under the surface. Because Bruce Banner is like a fucking piece of garbage in this comic.
Oh yeah, he's the most unlikable character so far.
Yeah, and I think so. We cut to he's on the phone with Fury, and this is where they reveal that they've uncovered Captain America, and that is the end of issue 2. And I believe issue 3 they basically steal straight into the movie with the Captain America waking up thing. Like I think they even pulled direct lines out of it. So in 3 we start with Hank in his very ugly ass giant man costume, which they even reference, but it's like the only thing he can wear because it's like a leather costume made out of like 150,000 cows. Yeah, and him.
I mean, like it's not great. Like I wouldn't say it's bad.
It's brown and
it's just brown.
Other brown.
Oh, it's awful. It's truly terrible.
It's very boring. Like it's very. I get the reasoning for it.
It looks like an original X-Men suit, but like the first draft. I mean, but like the movie.
I think that's the point, though.
Because this is like for like our universe, they wouldn't be wearing like colorful spandex.
Yeah.
They'd be wearing like leather and shit.
Oh yeah, no, that shows like the Matrix influence shows up later in the Ultimates.
Yeah, so then they're like, oh, they have a message, and so we cut to the Triskelion, and they're thawing out Cap, and this is where we get all the stuff that gets directly to the movie, minus a couple of characters. So they wake him up.
Yeah, and by the way, like I really like all this stuff with Hank and Jan, like
with their picnic.
Like yeah, like this is all cute and fun, and it's like what a great couple. I hope nothing bad happens to these two.
And so Cap wakes up and it's like, my name is Dr. Bruce Banner, like, and I'm the new assistant principal for like the Super Soldier program. The guy behind me is just Tony Stark, and the other guy is General Nick Fury. I know this all must look weird, but you're among friends. And then there's like 80 Marines behind him with guns. It's like, what happened to the nuke? Like the blah, blah. It's like, oh, you neutralized it. We won the war. He's like, how long have I been out? Banner's like, oh, I don't know, like 50 years.
Yeah, but like also Captain America doesn't believe that like a black man can like be so high up in the military.
Well, I think that's not exactly what he's saying, because this is the part they use directly in the films. He's like, well, someone give me a straight answer. Fury says 57 years. And he's like, sorry, like, but you really should have done your homework. The highest ranking black man is a Brooklyn board captain. I grew up with him. It's not saying that I can't believe it. It's like, I know the guy who's the highest rank.
But it's like, hey, it's 57 years ago. Like, and
I think he doesn't believe them. He thinks it's the Germans playing a trick.
But why would that the whole thing about that was like whenever Cap woke up and like Nick Fury's right there, like it's a black dude. Like why would the Nazis like be using like a black guy?
Yeah, right.
But again, they do this exact scene in the movies, including that line. Like the highest ranking black man in the army is like blah blah blah. Like I can't remember the name. I grew up with him. Like I know that guy. Like you guys messing up, and they do the whole thing where he jumps out the window, and they're like, "What the hell's going on?" And the only thing that's changed here is Pym smashes him. Again, Pym is now naked, and like, holy crap, you just killed Captain America. And he's like, no, I still feel him wriggling. And then we have, I don't even understand why, but naked Janet Pym, which will be a through point.
Well, okay, so because it also
she shrinks, but why is she shrunken and naked here?
Because she doesn't ever see it.
Well, I mean, to be fair, it also happens to Hank Pym.
Yes.
And it's like their clothes shrink or expand, but I mean, they shrink and expand, but their clothes don't. So it would make sense, right, that they're not wearing like
their super suits all the time. But like, why did she shrink?
Better question. That's the better question.
That's my point. It's like, why is she shrunk and why is she flying like right in Banner's face?
Because boobs, obviously.
Yes.
Well, okay, so like also, Bruce Banner looks very different than he has like in all the other in all the other issues.
Yeah, he's much better looking in these hospital things. Like, he gets way shabbier looking going forward.
Because I feel like anytime that they draw, like when he's like depressed, they draw him like way more, like his face is like a little fatter and schlubbier, and like there's more like.
It's exactly what they say. Like he looks like a chubby. Oh my god, what's his name? The actor that Pym says later on.
He's got like the 5 o'clock shadow going on. In this, it's like he's kind of shaven and he like looks a little bit better. And it's like, oh, like there's like no kind of consistency on like how he looks in the comic.
Well, it's the one thing they like kind of dive into, like the mental health, because I think it was earlier in the last issue where Janet has like the bottle of Prozac that's Hank's or something like that, and they're implying that Hank's like bipolar, maybe.
Yeah, which, you know, would probably be like a bad way of like kind of dealing with that character, but you know, Mark Millar is like kind of the guy who doesn't seem like he would write that well. And
so after that, we get into Fury and Cap, and it's like, oh, take it easy, Cap. Like, this nose has been broken more times than Robert Downey Jr. And he's like, and then he's like, oh, and this is like the big major change. So Bucky, his friend, did not become Winter Soldier, and instead like a 80-year-old man dying of cancer.
This is before the Winter Soldier.
Oh, that's right. So yeah, so Bucky is old and has married his fiance, who was, do they say her name?
Gail,
yes. And this is also where they dropped my eldest daughter, Sharon's 2 boys.
Because it's implied, like, in the first issue, that Gail was Captain America's girlfriend, right?
No, he straight up says it was my fiance, and my fiance married my best friend.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And so Bucky, like, he goes and meets Bucky and talk, and then she refuses. She doesn't want to come down. Was
Peggy Carter a character in comics around this time?
I feel like she was. Wasn't she an original Cap character?
Yeah, she was created in 1966, so it's very weird that Gail is not Peggy.
Yeah.
Because Sharon is their kid.
Yeah, so, which is interesting. So we get kind of the character we would get in, was it Winter Soldier or Civil War? Like that version of Peggy.
Civil War.
Yeah. So, but she's old. She doesn't want to see him because she's like, oh, last time you saw me, I was beautiful. What is weird is in her, like, on her mirror is a picture, or she's holding a picture of her and Steve. And she, like, has a folder of, like, all the pictures and letters.
I mean, like, I don't think that's necessarily, like, weird.
No, I was, when I said weird, I thought it was actually pinned on her mirror.
Oh.
But she also has, like, a weird Sailor Moon costume, like, sailor outfit behind her.
I mean, like, that's like her, probably, like, her old school uniform or something. But I think like one thing would be like kind of cool is like as we're going through, it's like I think the movies like definitely did, you know, this character like a little bit better.
Oh,
you know,
way
like
more
the
justice.
like, well, like even like having it to where she meets up with like Steve like later on in life, and it's like this, yeah, it's like Mark Millar like writing like this like old lady who's just like, I don't want to see him anymore because I'm old and gray.
Well,
but like Peggy's like, you know, she, you know, it's
they do change it in I think it's Ultimates 2, like they start hanging out.
Okay, I never read Ultimates 2.
Yeah, and they like become, because he like talks about, which they get into, is like he literally is so devoid of connection, like he can never really connect, so he just hangs out with Bucky and her all the time.
Yeah.
But then basically we go to Steve has no family left, and all he has is America. And then we cut to
all he has is
Hey, man, isn't
America.
that all you need at the end of the day?
Yeah.
and Nick Fury and Ultimate Betty Ross are walking the red carpet, and Betty
Who's
Ross,
like a movie star for some reason.
no, she's their PR person. She's like the ultimate PR person.
Yeah, which is funny because there's like a character for that in the Marvel U. So it seems weird that you would take her and then make her like the liaison for like the Avengers.
The only thing I can think of is it's the only way to get that character to be around Bruce so much.
It just seems like very odd for like Nick Fury also to be walking like the red carpet.
Yes. Well, that's the whole thing. Everything is super public. So they're doing this thing at the Triskelion, which is in, I guess, an island off of Manhattan that they built.
But I think this also like goes back to the point of like being like movie stars and celebrities and Hollywood and like getting
we get to one like in a second, because you have Stark and again like back to Schlubby Banner where he looks chubby and all this stuff, and then we cut to Fury is talking to President George W. Bush.
And they also name drop Jennifer Tilly. Let's not forget about all these celebrities.
Yeah. So and then we get President Bush is talking to Fury, and then we get Cap showing up, which is basically the Cap costume you get in Avengers.
God, I forgot George Bush shows up in this fucking book.
Yeah, because
times.
It's real world.
Obviously, we got to have the president in there.
I don't remember if we get Obama. I feel like we might have gotten like first term Obama.
No,
in
Obama
Ultimate 3.
No, Obama shows up in Amazing Spider-Man.
Okay, so I'm now jumping to issue 4, which is the issue that opens up with a full page where Shannon Elizabeth is bigger than Tony Stark, and they're in space. Which
it's like why is Shannon Elizabeth in space?
Oh, and then but because they're on Larry King, which we get a whole page of them talking to Larry King.
Yeah, gotta have all the celebrities out there.
Yeah, and then we see Banner is more depressed because as we get into it,
this issue, by the way, kind of has a lot of Dark Knight in it, like talking head shit.
Yes, it does. So we cut to Janet is showing Steve around New York, took him shopping, and she's teasing him, and she says like, "Oh, you're old enough to be my dad," and he's like, "I actually probably have 10 years on my dad," and she's like, it definitely seems like she's flirting with him, but like, and he doesn't know how to deal with it.
I think they definitely become a couple later on.
Oh no, they 100%. They become a couple at the end of,
before the Wasp is eaten by the fucking Blob.
Oh yeah, I forgot that happened.
Yeah, hey, don't read Ultimatum, kids.
So yeah, and Steve's apartment is robbed, and they're like, "Oh, did they think it's the Arab or the Chinese?" Like, they actually think it's just like a bunch of neighborhood kids, because he moves into his old neighborhood in Brooklyn, and it's just a shithole. Which is funny because in 2020, that place is probably one of the most expensive real estate markets in the country.
Yeah, well, it's almost like kind of wonder if it was even this bad back in 2001.
Probably not. No.
And it basically just kind of also feels, I don't know, man, like slightly kind of racist.
Oh, it definitely is like implying that like the whole street is in ruin. It's ridiculous.
Oh, like look at how Brooklyn's become without Captain America. What shithole.
And then we pop over to back to the Triskelion, and it's like, oh, we were gonna do a photo shoot, and the only person that showed up is Hank. Stark's in space. Fury's called in a meeting with Cheney. Cap and Wasp are trying to find all of his old Frank Sinatra albums.
Well, also Betty dresses down Bruce Banner in front of everyone.
Yeah, well, this is like where everyone like the shitting on Banner, like where he's starting to like, you see the cracks like they're showing, which I think is like one of the better things, is showing how we get to what we get to. Yeah, and he's basically like, he's kind of trying to reach out. And he's like, I think like this is me losing my mind. I'm freaking out. I can't break the formula. And it's like, oh, I was told I was going to have Hawkeye, this Olympic archer. But no, he's in the Maldives. And like, oh, I'm told all this other stuff. And then we get introduced to Thor. So we go to Norway at like a pseudo Burning Man. And Thor is on the ground drinking And for the most part, like the design and like everything, we don't get any of this in the movie. It is an interesting take though.
Also,
and I do actually think going forward, the Thor is an interesting take on him.
Also, why would like hippie Thor drink Millar?
Is that what he's drinking?
It's product placement, man.
I didn't even see a label. Is that specifically what he's drinking?
It says Mill on it.
Yeah.
The only other bill I know that says Mill is Millar.
Yeah, he's not even in America though.
Everybody knows that the fine folk of Norway love a good Miller draft.
Yeah,
a genuine draft.
I'm gonna break it to you guys. Like, I'm not a big fan of Ultimate Thor.
I think I think the idea of like everybody being like, yo, he's not really a god. Like he's just some dude with like a magic, like with a tech hammer that can do something.
Later on, it turns out he actually is.
Oh,
it's
no,
just that, like,
I know. I do like the idea of them like not believing him.
That is cool. I like the idea of it being like a semi-human character that is elevated to godhood.
Yeah, and they're like, oh, he's a psychiatric patient, but he's got like these crazy powers, but like we'll deal with it. So he basically tells them to go fuck themselves, but if like shit's really bad, I'll come save people, and then they leave. Then it says weeks pass, and this is
the moment of like, oh man, who would play us all in movies?
And Cap's just like, who's Brad Pitt? Who's this?
Yeah, because they're like, oh, Betty Ross has got a 3-picture deal with Brad Pitt to play Captain America.
Which I do. There is one line I hear, which is like, I can't remember who it's Fury says like, and because Janet's like, who played me? He's like, Lucy Liu. And it's like, oh, naturally, because all us Asian people look alike. So you could just have anybody. What's your backup choice, Bruce Lee? I was like, oh, that's actually kind of a good comeback for her in a book from 2002. And then Cap's like, who's Bruce Lee?
Which is also funny.
And then as this is all going on, and like, of course, like any sitcom, Pym is like, oh, you know that guy who would be good with the bug eyes and blah, blah, blah. And then they're like, guy, and Banner's like right behind him, and he just like gets pissy and knocks over some dude's papers. It's like, I was going to say Steve Buscemi. Like, was that really insulting?
Well, no, those are his papers. He had them in his like hand.
Oh, I didn't. Oh, yeah, they are his papers. I didn't see the folder in his hand, the other thing. And then, then we get the ensuing moment that is forever etched in everybody's memories.
But yeah, it's not even just like, Hank and, Janet. It's also like, oh my God, Nick Fury. Like, it's like they're all like making fun of him. So it's like, it's not even bad enough he doesn't have the respect of like the two people.
His peers.
His peer.
Well, it's Fury and Cap.
Like, well, it's like he doesn't have the respect of his rivals. Which is fair. He doesn't even have the respect of his peers. So it's like, why is he even on this team?
Yep. And then basically he calls Betty on the street, and he's like, I did something really bad. And he's like, and she's like, I can't really talk to you. I'm in the middle of dinner with Freddie Prinze. It's like, we were talking about all this stuff, and he's really interested in taking the super soldier serum. Either him or Nicolas Cage. And it's like, and he's like, Betty, shut up. You don't get what I'm saying. I did something really bad. I'm really bad. I took Cap's blood and I mixed it with the Hulk serum, and I shot myself up with it. And she's like, wait, what? Why did you do that? And it's like, because I'm trying to do you a favor. I'm going to unite the team. And it's just also, I miss being big. And then we get him like,
which is like basically like a big throwback to the original Avengers coming together because of the Hulk, right?
Yes, the original Avengers got together. Loki mind controlled the Hulk.
Which I don't know. Like I don't mind the way the team came together in the movie is like a little bit more high stakes.
I don't mind this idea of Banner being like, he is kind of like the quintessential like nerd who's like no one ever takes seriously. Like everybody else is better. Like he's not good looking. He's not the smartest guy. And he has all these goddamn problems. And then we see him Hulk out in the ambulance, which is pretty cool. And then then we get Hulk's first line, which is Hulk want Freddie Prinze Jr.
Yeah,
awesome. And we get our team suiting up. Janet's zipping up. Everyone's armored up. The Avengers are ready to go. And then issue 5. Which there are parts of the design. Like I like some of the design of this Hulk. I like some of the design stuff they do. Like I like the idea of like that Hank can't just like go giant and go small. Like we open up with Hank is giant and he's being like airdropped into the scene because like it's a formula that he has to take. And this Hulk is fucking crazy. Like, it's insane.
Mm-hmm.
I hate this Hulk. I hate the color of this Hulk. I hate the Hulk's face.
I mean, Grey Hulk is not bad, but Grey Hulk saying that he's horny fucking sucks.
Yeah,
I feel like I almost
Hulk
want to read
smashed. Yeah.
every one of his lines, like, get away from Freddie Prinze Jr., Betty. You're supposed to be Banner's girlfriend. And he's like, oh my God, you found this. And then it's like, Banner too much of a woman for you, Betty? Maybe it's time you gave Hulk a try. And Betty's like, God damn it, Freddie, do you hear me? Do you know what he's doing? Send it right now. Don't you hear what he's saying? Yeah, and he's just like, Hulk's gonna get you no matter what, Betty. Hulk hornier than and then that's when Hank shows up and grabs him. It's like, you're giving science a bad name, and Hulk just beats the fucking shit out of him.
Mm-hmm.
He's literally has his crotch in Hank's face. And
yeah, he's like, I'm gonna tear off your head and use it as a skull like a toilet bowl.
And Hank is hard, like he's gonna like rip his jaw apart. And then kind of like the movies, Iron Man comes in and like takes him away. It's kind of actually very similar to what we get in Avengers 2, where he's like, find me an empty building, and he sends him to Grand Central Station. And they're doing their fight, and Hulk just is like beats the shit out of him and rips off the helmet, and he hits him with some sonics and blasts him out of the way. And then this is where we get this is all Janet can do, which is
Janet like fucking flashes the Hulk. It's like, yeah. I'm like, really?
And she's like, a double PhD it's Banner says it, right? A double PhD, and the only way you can think to distract him is the Mardi Gras special. And she's like, give me I guess it's Fury that says that. He's just like, it worked. So it's her idea.
Well, it's her idea, but it's also Mark Millar's idea.
Oh, it's Mark Millar's idea. And Hulk's face is like, because she says, hey, Banner, Betty Ross got a rack as nice as these. Which doesn't even like...
Yeah.
That seems like it should have been like tits, and they replaced it with rack. Mm-hmm. It doesn't like make sense. And then we get Tony's being a creep, and then we get the creepiest image of the Hulk ever, with his like pouty lips and crazy eyes chasing Janet. And then Cap is in some giant tank, and they start fighting, and he's hitting Hulk, and Hulk breaks the needle and just starts crushing the shit out of him. And then that's when
Captain America kicks him in the dick.
Oh yeah, he hits him like he punches him in the face, kicks him in the dick, hits him with the shield, trips him, goes to shoot him with the needle, and Hulk's like, nah, fuck that shit, smash. And he's like, you were supposed to be my friend, blue guy. And then that's when Thor shows up and smashes Hulk in the face. And then it's like, oh, message here from the White House, General. The president just doubled our international aid budget. And Fury says, and to think I voted for Ralph Nader.
This scene, like the whole fight scene's like off that Ultimates movie, back when we were talking about that before we started the pod. That's when everyone comes together. Dude, I think my chair just broke.
You're hulking out too much. And all this ends like Thor's beating the shit out of him.
Was Ralph Nader even like a presidential candidate?
Yes, he was. Yeah, he was a third party candidate
in 2000. I guess he was.
I think for Bush Gore.
He was. I guess he was.
And all this ends with Hulk giving his creepiest smile, saying, "Nah, Thor's hammer just made Hulk horny for Betty again, hippie."
Ugh.
Yeah.
And so
this series started off like kind of promising.
Not bad. Yeah, and then so I wanted to get to like 5 and 6 because this is where the turn happens. So they're going to use Freddie Prinze and Betty as bait, and Banner's beating the shit out of Cap. And like, she's like, he's not even here. She's over there.
The Wasp is in like his ear.
I don't mind that part, but yeah. So she's crawling through his.
I know. I'm just explaining where she's at. And
she zaps him in his brain. I guess in the spot of his brain where like it turns off his, I don't know, rage center. And they show up. He's like, Banner's like, don't hurt me, please. Like it was only trying to help. It was part of the plan to bring the whole team together. So everybody, you understand, don't you? And Cap's like, yeah, I totally understand. You're one of the game, for God's sake. You're part of the team. It's like, I just want to make sure that you get take all those cuts and bruises taken care of. And he's like, I don't have anything. And Cap just kicks him in the fucking face. And that is the end of issue 5, which is only not the worst issue of the. Because Hulk saying that he's going to is horny for Betty is not the grossest thing sex-wise.
Yeah, because we're in issue 6, which is where this book takes a fucking turn.
Yep. Which there's many weird ass things. So we go from here. So the issue starts. We see everyone's getting treated, and it's Betty and Fury, and she's like, I kind of feel a little responsible for this. It's oh, you weren't the one pushing the buildings. And then he's like, yeah, but the thing with me flirting with Freddie Prinze, I've been treating him like dirt, might have pushed him over the edge. But and then she kind of says all of a sudden she's like, it is kind of a little flattering though, isn't it? And it's oh my god, this Betty Ross is so fucked as well.
I mean, I think that's also just I don't know, man. Mark Millar is writing all the women in this book as either being manipulative or weak or victims, and it's just it's not good.
Because it happens in a later issue too.
And you might say, what about the Wasp? Well, we'll get to her.
Because in a later issue, she makes a comment of they're watching video of something, and she's like, "Oh my god, you ate that guy." Do you think Nick would allow conjugal visits in the same line? Yeah.
Oh yeah. That was I just finished it before we started.
Yeah, I think that's
one of the last panels.
Yeah,
and that is really gross.
So we got Cap all beat the shit out of doing interviews. Tony and Thor. Janet's on Oprah or something, and then we show Hank, who's knocked the fuck out with a bleeding nose and his jaw is broken. And Janet says oh, he'll be fine. It'll be a while before he can grow big again. I think it was more than his body. And then we cut back to Fury's talking to Janet, and she's like, oh, you're gonna, basically oh, you were on Regis and all this other stuff, doing things it's Banner and I spent 6 months trying to get Thor to join the team, and Tony, we never thought of inviting him over for dinner. Then we cut to Cap, Tony, and Thor having dinner, which Tony's selling all his shit in his penthouse, and this is the reveal where Tony says, I don't know if it's here or later on, but basically in this thing, we keep cutting back between the two. So they're having dinner, and then we cut to Janet's visiting Hank. Hank's got a 5 o'clock shadow. He's oh, I'm just trying to finish this up. And she's like, no, it's an emergency, Hank. And I know things didn't pan out with the Hulk with you, but you were really, really brave. And he's like, don't patronize me. Why do you always do this? It drives me nuts. Why do you always cut me down? And she's kind of still being cheerful.
This is the scene really out of nowhere.
Yeah, I guess he has black eyes still, and he's just really shitty about the whole thing.
This feels very reminiscent of, it's as you're reading this, it's if you're familiar with old Marvel, you could just see where this is going, and it's this makes sense if you're also telling about this time where Hank Pym because it's this basically builds up to where Hank Pym's gonna punch Janet in the face. And and not to excuse it, but the idea of when he punches Janet in the face in the past is there's a build up to it to when it happens. And in this it's it just seems out of nowhere.
Oh, it's completely out of nowhere.
There's nothing about their relationship that has been up to this point that has been nothing but playful.
Yeah, because she's basically just oh, don't be horrible, and he's oh, what do you expect? I'm a laughing stock. There's a picture of you with your tongue down Captain America's throat, which what are they saying? It's a Photoshop or something?
Yeah, I never saw that.
And he's he wouldn't be flirting with you if he knew what you really were. And she's like, what's that? Oh, I don't know. Let's see. Asian, 5'3", molecular biologist. Oh, wait. I mean, a mutant, you idiot. So that's a big, obviously, change. So Janet's a mutant, and he's oh, all this hysteria.
That's actually a really cool little change.
I do like the idea. It makes them how they come up with everything a lot more interesting. That he basically broke her mutant power down, and that's how he created the idea, the Pym particles. And then they get into oh, he saw you eating caterpillars and beetles and hiding in your larval nest during the mutant hysteria. Would they have done that? They think if you were so special, if waking up every 6 weeks to find eggs in their bed. Basically, I guess like the idea is like she's like a butterfly person.
No, she's a wasp.
But she has
and then she eats bugs, and she like lives in a hive, and like she's like an actual bug person.
Yeah, but like I don't know, like the larval nest made me think of like a cocoon, but I guess like it's a little different. And it's like your personal hygiene makes me sick to my stomach sometimes, and she's like, "Oh, I didn't see you complaining when you took credit for the powers you got based off of my goddamn mutant formula, like my mutant thing." It's like, "What do you imply? Like, I couldn't come up with this on my own." She's like, "Oh, you're such a was it like polymath? I don't even know what that means." Basically, she just says that like he's a fucking idiot. And let's see how many super soldiers you create.
Yeah, he's basically just being sorry for himself, and he feels embarrassed. Because I mean, like, I guess it makes sense in a way that he's super egotistical and full of himself, and the first time out, he gets knocked on his ass, and instead of getting the credit that he feels like he deserves, Janet's the one that gets the credit, and she's the one that goes on like all these different talk shows. But like at the end of the day, it's like, again, there have been no seeds planted for like this massive turn other than 616. Hank Pym is kind of a dickhead.
Yeah, which this version gets even worse because like so it's like, oh, like what are you gonna do? Just make everybody big and tall, and then have a helmet talk to ants? And then she says, Bruce Banner was twice the G-man you'll ever be, and you know it, mister. And then he, I guess it slaps her in the face, and he says...
So I think it's like also like very important to go back to the idea of like why the Ultimates, or like not the Ultimate, but the Ultimates, but like the Ultimate Universe is created. The Ultimate Universe, I feel like, was created as a way of like not only like getting new readers at the ground level on like Marvel heroes, but also to erase like a lot of the baggage that has come with certain characters, like Hank Pym. Because Hank Pym, ever since he punched Janet in her face in like 1970 or 1980 or whenever that comic came out, he like that is defining moment. Like it doesn't matter.
It's the reason why he's not Ant-Man in the movie. Like he's not.
It's absolutely the reason he's not Ant-Man in those movies. And like for Mark Millar to replicate this really heinous moment.
Oh, to replicate and escalate.
Yeah, not only replicate it, but like, hey, let me like also do something that's like 10 times as worse as it. It just like makes no sense to me.
Yeah, because he's like, oh no, I'm so sorry. She elbows him in the face and then cracks him in the head with a radio. And then we cut back to the sweet little dinner between
as she should.
Thor, Steve, and Tony. And like they're all talking, and then they're like, oh, blah, blah, blah. And then we cut back, and it's she biting him, and he's slapping her and punching her. And she says, drop dead. And then she shrinks. So now she is tiny and naked.
Like, yeah.
And zapping him, in which we get to see like tiny wasp butt and side boob. And he's like, ow, ow, ow. And then all of a sudden he grabs, why they would even have.
Like
he
bug
grabs
spray?
A bug spray and sprays her. And he's like, I bet it feels like napalm. She runs under the cupboard. And then it's like her in like a fetal position hiding underneath like his desk. And he's like...
and he sends the ants after her.
Yeah, he says, don't think like I can't get to you. And then he puts on his helmet and she's attacked by thousands of ants. And it's like, you shouldn't have made me look small. And
like,
cut to this.
Fuck off.
That's yeah.
And it's like I don't mind the idea of cutting back and forth between like this pleasant dinner and like this horrible scene. Was like, this horrible scene did not need to happen. And Tony's like, I got brain cancer. Yay.
Yeah. Awesome.
And gives Cap his old helmet. They all cheers.
I actually do like when I think it's like kind of funny when Tony's like, yeah, I got this brain tumor the size of a golf ball. It's pretty inoperable. And Steve Rogers is basically like, is this a joke? Is this one of those ironic things I never seem to get?
I feel like this is like what turned into the like, I get that reference.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I do feel like he strangely gets like, he does a decent job with like writing Steve in this time period. Like the man out of time thing. And I like this conversation these three guys have. But yeah, then we cut to Hank is like, what have I got? Oh my God, Jan, what have I done? And then you have the bottle. There's like pills everywhere. The ants in her dress. And that is the end of issue 6.
It sucks, man.
Yeah.
It's just like I literally I wish that there was like a camera on me when I'm like when I'm reading this comic. I'm just like, yeah, like this comic doesn't seem so bad so far. I'm like 5 is like not great, but it's like it's not super bad. And then it's like 6, I'm like, okay,
yeah.
This
well,
sucks.
that's when like it starts to get weird. And like again, once they get to like the fighting in the second part, like it's fine because it's like, oh, because we'll get to it, but like the introduction of Black Widow and Hawkeye, like I think is not too bad. I kind of like the joke of Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch. It's like, oh, if you slow down the cameras, then you'll see like I was doing this and this, and Black Widow's like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah,
like, you're bullshit. And like the big fight at the end, I like how Cap uses Hulk. It's very kind of, it's like the movie did that in like a infinitely toned down way of when Cap goes Hulk smash.
Mm-hmm.
Like he kind of does that. It's like that bad man over there tried to touch Betty, and Hulk goes and like rapes his face, which is normally like he like, I'm joking to be like extreme, but not in this book. But yeah, like the second part is fine, and it just continues. What's weird is like Ultimates 1 and 2 are not seen as being horrible. It's Ultimates 3 is like the point where everything just becomes hell in a handbasket.
It gets worse somehow.
Well, yeah. Well, I don't even. I can't. Like, I'm trying to remember when.
I don't even think 3 is like all that bad. Like I think like it like 3 just kind of feels like, well, this feels like a very dated comic from the early 2000s. Like 5 is like where I'm just like, there's just like a lot of just like small.
Oh no, I meant
I'm just like
Ultimates 3, not issue 3.
Oh yeah, Joe, Jesus Christ, yeah. Ultimates, it's so weird because Ultimates 3 has Joe Mad art, and the art is like very good, I feel like, but I also love Joe Mad. But yeah, like that book is Ultimates 3 is the beginning of the end, and then Ultimatum is just like not just the final nail in the coffin, but like we put the final nail in the coffin. We also put the coffin in the ground. We also put cement over that coffin.
Yeah, I just clicked Ultimates 3. Ultimates 3 starts with the leaked sex tape of Black Widow and Tony Stark.
Yep.
Awesome. That's super cool.
Oh no, like issue 1 is basically also the Wasp and talking to Captain America about how Quicksilver and the Scarlet Witch are like a couple, and
he doesn't get it.
And Captain America's like not getting into it, and the Wasp is like, oh, they're in love, and then the issue ends with Scarlet Witch being killed.
Oh,
which
nice.
Becomes like a whole thing, and also like so Venom attacks, and like Wasp is in a different costume. This is also post Hawkeye's entire family dying, and he basically has now become Bullseye in many ways.
Yeah, spoiler for Ultimates 2. His entire family dies, and then he
murders an entire room of people while he rips off his own fingernails.
Yeah, he rips off his fingernails and he flicks them to kill people.
Okay, what?
It's actually like really, it was really metal for like school age me. I was like, oh, that's badass. Hawkeye's a fucking man. But like, also we have Valkyrie show up, who is like a 15-year-old girl that Thor drags around, who he's hooking up with in Ultimates 3.
Yikes.
Wait, what?
There's like, yeah, Valkyrie is like a young girl that Thor brings around.
Oh, I do not remember that. But
yeah, I'm literally scrolling through it. I'm like, and Thor's like old. This is past where like in the X-Men books, what do you call it? I think at the same time, so Scarlet Witch dies, Cyclops is assassinated, and they also like Wolverine walks in on Scarlet and Quicksilver straight up doing it, and him surprising them is like her magic makes the dinosaurs in the Savage Lands. Because Magneto tells him to kill them, I believe.
Ultimate Valkyrie is 19 years old from Wikipedia.
Okay.
I seem to remember her being like way younger than.
I mean, they say maybe 19 years old, but it could be also like one of those things where she is, drawn.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember because like, and then in Ultimate Hulk versus Wolverine, we find out Wolverine's mutant power isn't his healing factor. It's like survivability. And there's a point where Nick Fury cut off his head and he's just talking to the head of Wolverine.
What?
Yes. And Hulk also has like the ultimate, what's it? I think it's like ultimate, I don't remember if it's Ultimate Hulk. Like Iron Man, like it starts off with like Iron Hulk, like Banner basically goes to Stark. He's like, we're the two smartest people in the world. How can we not fix this? And basically, like Tony's like, all right, let's replicate what the surface of Venus would be like, and Hulk adapts to it. So Hulk is basically unkillable. And they do like a really weird ultimate version of.
You know what? Good for them.
Oh, and that's not even the crazy. In the Ultimate Universe, the mutants didn't just happen; they were created.
Oh yeah.
What?
Yep.
So
the mutants are a government like conspiracy of creation, and Wolverine is the original mutant.
Yep.
So, wait, is he?
Like, they took Wolverine and created the mutant genome and introduced it into the world.
Why?
I think the idea was to give humans the ability to fight off invading alien species.
Okay, fair.
But
that kind of eliminates the whole thing that X-Men stands for. But
yeah, and I'm pretty sure Black Panther was like
you say that, wouldn't you?
I'm pretty sure Black Panther was like a kidnapped government experiment, and he's a mute.
Black Panther's a mute. Okay.
I feel like that's right.
I feel like the Ultimate Universe was just kind of a mistake.
Look, at the end of the day,
it wasn't really.
You know what? You're right. It wasn't. Like, I mean, like Ultimate Spider-Man is very good, and there are like a lot of like kind of cool things about Ultimate X-Men. And like the Ultimates for the day is not bad, but you know, it gets to a certain point where I feel like it loses its way, and it's around the Ultimates. And like X-Men, Fantastic Four, and the Ultimates were like bad at a certain point. But like Ultimate Spider-Man, like kind of just trudge along because like, hey, when you have like the same creative team for like 12 years, that book like has a very constant, you know, like barrier of quality. And there's also like kind of a reason why like post Ultimates universe, there are only like 2 surviving like characters from that entire universe, and one of them is Miles Morales.
Yeah, and that like I said before, like there are interesting ideas sprinkled in here. I don't like as crazy as Ultimate Iron Man is, like I think there's interesting ideas in there. As horrible as Ultimate Hulk is, I think Ultimate Banner is like an interesting character. And
I like the idea of the Hulk serum. That's a cool idea. And like, how it gets integrated into Banner is an interesting thing. It's just I wish Banner was a better character, and maybe they expand on it better in his single issue. But
in Hulk versus Wolverine, like they do a decent job, and they show him going to therapy and stuff. And that stuff is interesting. And he ends up going to Tibet, and the guy's like, "What if you're not changing into the Hulk, but the Hulk is changing into you, and like you're the shitty personality?" And then that's how we get an amalgam. We also get a She-Hulk in as well, which is weird. And Ultimate Jessica, what's the she? Like the She-Hulk is not Jessica, it's Betty.
Wait, there's an Ultimate She-Hulk?
Yes. Banner, what do you call it? What is the She-Hulk? What's her name? Jessica
Walters.
Walters is a scientist, not a lawyer, and she fixes the Hulk formula, and Betty steals it and takes it. And she becomes Ultimate She-Hulk. And then while him and Wolverine are fighting, she shows up and she starts fighting the Hulk. And then from Wolverine's perspective, he's like, I couldn't tell when they were fighting and when they were fucking.
Sweet.
Oh, this is an Ultimate Wolverine versus Hulk?
Yes. That's also where Wolverine is just ahead.
Yeah,
Which is
I don't think I ever finished this series.
Well, that was the series that's like the most delayed series of all time. Like I think it took like 3 years to come out. Something crazy like that.
Yeah, well, fuck. Like that entire Ultimates. Well, Ultimates was a comic that was like also just like super delayed.
What's just funny is like the thing I liked the most that was like kind of tangential to the Ultimate Universe. Oh, it was 3 years between them. February 2006 to July 2009 for Ultimate Wolverine Hulk. So 3.5 years.
I'm looking at December 05 to 09.
Oh wow. Okay.
Well, December 05 to May 09.
Okay, so like 4 years almost for 6 issues. But was the Squadron Supreme was something I loved when they came out. And
by the way, yeah,
that weirdly tied into the Ultimates.
Well, because they did like Supreme Power.
Yeah, they did Supreme Power, which if you don't know, like the original, were they originally Squadron Supreme?
Yes.
It's the Marvel goof on DC, and then they did like an Ultimates version of them in a different universe, and it's actually really interesting.
Well, Supreme Power originally was not an Ultimates version.
No, they're a separate universe, and then they crossed over with each other.
Yeah, but like Squadron Supreme and Supreme Power are two very different things. Or they're two different things.
Okay, the one that was at the same time as the Supreme Power, is that it?
So Supreme Power was like a J. Michael Straczynski like relaunch of
Squadron Supreme.
Squadron Supreme in the style of Ultimates. And then they did Supreme Power, which was the crossover of Supreme the relaunch of Supreme with the Ultimates universe.
Yeah, because like wasn't it like Reed Richards was like killing the Squadron universe by accident or something?
Yeah. But then like, hey, that Reed becomes the maker, and like, hey, I don't think so much of that was next.
Yes. Which I was out of Ultimates way before that, so. But that Squadron Supreme or whatever, that squadron is, I think, an interesting take on superheroes and like that idea of like those characters. Like the Aquaman version is really fucking weird because it's like a fish lady. It's kind of like Shape of a Water person.
Oh yeah. I don't know. She's cute.
I'm trying to remember. But yeah, we will finish up Ultimates next week or next show because it's after midnight on the East Coast.
Yeah.
I didn't even realize Ryan tipped out. So yeah, we'll finish that up next week. Quick round of plugs.
You can find me on Twitter. I'm at Question Connor, and on Instagram I'm at Maybe Connor. That's all, folks.
You can find me at John JOHN_FN_Seiler SEILER, where I talk about work shit and a bunch of other things. Also, same Instagram, same name.
Yeah, and don't forget to check out all the other shows. Leave a 5-star review.
Tell your dad about this.
Yeah, tell your dad, tell your friend. Happy Valentine's Day. We'll catch you next time. Adios.
I love you.
Thank you for listening to After Dark and the fantabulous emancipation of one John Seiler.
So I guess I'll join the crowd.